Welcome back to the lab. More specifically, welcome back to Auckland at ST High-Tech. That's mirror image. I'm sorry I didn't bring my gimbal dooflicky with me today. We're up here because we got that beastie there. Finally made some progress on sorting out some gremlins with that. We took it in that building, that there thing there. We gave it a tune. Now, this car's supposed to make 400 kilowatts. It didn't make 400 kilowatts. It's pretty though, isn't it? It looks really good with those red brake calipers. Don't mind the strops holding it down. There is let's call it a problem. There is a problem with the ignition system in that we're not getting enough spark. And we've got some aftermarket coils on there. They are proving to be worth more than this was a brand new. I'm not sure if it's an OEM coil or not. Don't worry about the bracket. The bracket's second hand. This was put on by the previous engine destroyers, and we substituted that for one of our coils that we put on and instantly had a much bigger misfire. So this, whether it's OEM or not, does not make as much spark as our ones that we've put in just recently. These are all have been in the car and have been tested. The only reason why we're in here is to show you the old dyno chart there. Made that much. It's pretty good. Yeah. Look, there it is down there. There it is down there. Made that much. So we're not quite 400 kilowatts. That was 14 psi boost. We're going to easily crack 400 kilowatts on the mainline hub dyno with decent ignition. It is going to happen. We are going to upgrade the coil packs on the vehicle, or maybe find whatever it is that's limiting it. It's a bit weird. I've been through the entire power system and all that, and as far as I can see, there are no problems. That's not to say there is no problem hiding somewhere. So 14 psi boost, it's gold. It'll do that all day, no problems at all. 15 is a little bit hairy, starts to have a little bit of a misfire. 16, no, we're not doing 16. It just refuses, which is really interesting because this car in the past has run 20, 22 psi and not had significant issues with ignition. We have increased dwell to overcome misfires, and we've tried increasing dwell today and had no results from that. It's just more dwell's not helping the game. R35 GTR coils, etc. Yeah, easy, except not easy. They don't just bolt in. You have to pull the plenum off to change spark plugs and stuff. So we're just looking into some options there. And we'll see what we come up with. All the way to the rev limiter. Yes, boy. Now, I probably should have done some more videoing while I was on the dyno, while the car was on the dyno. Be interesting to see how much Glenn would make on the dyno, but never mind. I didn't, because it's not quite right yet, and I didn't want to focus on it too much. These are these bright yellow things. Brandless. There's some boxes on the floor. Do those boxes have a brand on them? They're just cheap coils that are supposed to be better than stock, and maybe they're not. They don't have a brand on them, so they can't be that great. What does that say there? They're yellow. Good brand, eh? That's all making its way to the recycling bin. They were purchased just to prove a point, really, just to check to see whether we did still have an issue with our factory coils. Now, they're still sitting, I believe, on the floor in here. So we had, there they are, there. We had 6 in the car, and I took 3 spares with me, and we mucked around. We swapped coils around. That's all getting tidied up shortly, to try and establish whether we actually had a faulty coil or not. And it looks like we probably had
more than one faulty coil, more than 3 even perhaps. So as far as we could tell, the misfire at that point in time was on the left-hand side of the car, the passenger side. We swapped out all 3 of those coils and still had a misfire on the passenger side of the vehicle. So one of the spare ones that I had in here, that I've put in here, was probably also faulty, which is why you can't guarantee that that confirms or denies a fault. That's why you need brand spanking new. So brand spanking new genuine coils for these cars are pretty pricey, which is why we went with significantly cheaper aftermarket ones, just to prove a point, and then we'll upgrade to something else. Probably won't be a bolt-in installation like this. It may be some sort of a kit. That's really over to the customer. But as you'll see, 14 psi, which is nothing. Not quite that. Maybe that on a Dynapack hub dyno, but not on the mainline hub dyno. Mainline hub dyno, best number on the day was 356. That was a good clean run. If we were rough, we may have been able to push it and get a higher number with a slight misfire, but there's no point in that. So yeah, there's 3, we'll call it 350. Some of the runs were 342, some of the runs were higher than 350. Average it out, 350 kilowatts, which is fine. For this thing, which is off the top of my head, I think this is 1400 kgs, this car. That's enough. That's many horsepowers, many minis. Now, I've tidied up some things. Things we've got that side of it more or less under control. We will be shifting. If we go aftermarket coils, we end up deleting the PTU. But I did tidy up the PTU wiring in the short term anyway, and the rest of the wiring, which a lot of this will have to come back undone, all the insulation that I've put in. When we change the coils, we'll put new wires through to the ECU. You just got to make sure, right, if you have a big problem with, well, we're going to call it a big problem. If you have a problem with something like this, ultimately, sledgehammer tactic. You get in there and you just replace absolutely everything, and then you know you've got it right. So I've been through, and those of you familiar with Z32s, you know there's a couple of big ugly plugs that live here, and there's a wiring harness that starts there. These ones, they come around here, big ugly plugs, and then harness comes around here, and it goes along under there, and it goes all the way back through there, and it's all yucky and messy. As you can see, deleted. Those plugs are living over there now, which is still kind of yucky, but a lot less cluttery and a lot tidier looking than what it was the other way. This wire here, don't worry about this wire here. That plug there goes onto the air conditioning, which we haven't got running yet. And the pump lives just down there, so that's going to get some new sheathing put on that and run it down there nice and tidy out of the way so it doesn't get burnt or anything. The rest of that, that's kind of how it's going to be for now. It's not finished, because as I say, we're going to delete the PTU. We're going to change these coils to something else. All this wiring all gets changed to different stuff. Need a couple of brackets to hold the fuel hoses. Those 2 there. But other than that, that's finished. It's drivable, right? It's perfectly safe to hit the road, cruise around, use it. More honest, right? Nearly 400 kilowatt club. So you'll remember earlier on we've mentioned we've got some coilovers to go in there, some new coilovers, teen coilovers. We've also got some new springs. See, don't think the springs are in here. There's stuff and things in here. There you go. So we're going to be putting one of those in there. And there's some stuff in here as well. So this is all very fancy, right? Those of you that know, you know. Those of you that don't, you'll find out later when we get there. And also in here, we get some fancy stickers and some more packaging. But there's some slightly softer springs in here, because the rumour is, or the mighty internet tells us, and my personal experience tells me, the springs that are on those are actually quite stiff, quite hard. So we've got some slightly softer ones to give this some pliability, is it? Make it softer, make it ride nicer, because we don't want to turn it into a yucky thing that's horrible to drive. It's such a pretty car. Kind of wish I hadn't sold it in some ways, but there you go, that's what happens. The March won't look any good in that colour. It's kind of a bit big for that. It looked like a ladybird. Right, so I've got stuff and things to do. There's your update. Nearly there. There's a few things that have to be shifted around here to make it look a little bit prettier. Sort out the air conditioning, put that wire on, then that's pretty much close the bonnet. That side of it, done. No oil leaks, no water leaks, not using any water, not pressurizing the cooling system, no funny noises. It is gold. It's good. Wasn't without some troubles, but certainly a better job than the previous engine destroyers, as you would expect. I should have at least some experience with these things, right? Very good. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.